Hi, guys. Welcome back to Freedom Brigade Nation. We've got producer Andrea Ibn Ali, and we have honored to have Mr. Doug Billings on with us tonight. Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Mr.
Hardy,
Billings.
everybody. Hi, Evan.
Hi.
Andrea, good to be with all of you.
Good to be with you.
So we're going to have some fun with you in December. You're throwing this big Determined Patriotism conference. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So on my show, I've got a couple of monikers that I use almost every day, and they are this: that we meet together, you and I, and people in our local communities, wherever we live in this republic. We meet in determined prayer primarily, and then secondly, we've got to begin to meet in determined patriotism. Determined patriotism is what it takes. It's the hard work of it all to not only reclaim the republic away from what the radical left has attempted to turn it into, but to get it back to the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. So determined patriotism, the conference, we have a couple a year. This one to close out this year is in Branson, Missouri on December 13th and 14th. And at its core, what it is really is motivating, educating, and inspiring the grassroots conservative movement to network with one another, to do just what I mentioned, to engage in their local communities, in their counties, in the states in which they live, to get involved, school boards, boards of county commissioners, aldermen, mayors, if you've got a constitutional sheriff, all of that, to put forth and vet true conservative candidates for office. We've got to begin to vet these candidates so that we begin to quell and rid ourselves of the rhino problem. If they want the honor of having an R after their name before they go to the county clerk to register as a candidate, we've got to make sure that they are vetted. And so it teaches all of this and motivates and inspires, I hope, to go back home and to begin the work of determined patriotism.
That's exciting. So that is everything we talk about, right? It is always it's getting people activated. It's bringing heaven down to earth, which is up to us. And making that R means something. You know, you have some groups in Missouri, we've had them on the show, that in their counties, they don't just let anybody run as a Republican.
Yeah.
They make them, you're aware of them, Cynthia Haggard and some of those. They're
Yes.
amazing.
Melissa Thomas, Cynthia Haggard, David
Amazing.
Leitner, all of those folks,
We have states across the country looking at what they've done and trying to replicate that. I'm in Oklahoma looking at it myself. The Republican Party needs to draw the line there and say, hey, we're not for sale. We're not prostitutes. You have to earn running as a Republican, and we can't be bought.
Yep.
And so, but we have to get rid of the rhinos.
And those that have been in office who haven't been acting like Republicans and have been voting like Democrats should not be able to run again. Like, I'm so sick of the incumbent rhinos that just stay alive and they're in office for like 50 years and they don't do anything that's MAGA. They're not true patriots. They vote with the Democrats. Get rid of them.
Right. Yeah, we've got to begin to primary those folks and get them out. It's a big problem. And the reason that it's such a big problem is that if we look back over, and I'm going to throw a number out that's not just a number out of thin air, but for 187 years, the conservative movement, John and Jane Doe, people like you and me and all of the conservatives across the country, we've done a lot of really great things over that period of time. But the one thing that we've completely failed at, if we're honest with ourselves, is that we have not been involved thoroughly in our local levels of government. And therefore we wake up the morning after the election in 2020 and we go, what in the heck just happened? What in the world? How did this? And when we look at schools, we begin to, COVID happens, and we all of a sudden, because our kids are home learning from home, we begin to take a closer look at their curriculums, and we're saying, wait a minute, these books are pornographic. These are in your classroom. These are in your libraries. This is what you're learning. What's this thing called woke? What's this? And so we begin to learn. It's an eye-opening experience because we just were not involved. The radical left just thoroughly, they became activists and they took over our country. And so we have thankfully, conservatives are a lot smarter than liberals, and it's not going to take us 128 years, 89 years to course correct that or to countermeasure it. But we've got a lot of work to do. We can enjoy the election that we had just 1 week ago today. And I think it's the divine providence of God in action. I've said 4 years ago on my show, we're going to be in for the greatest example of the reawakening of the divine providence of God that has ever been witnessed in this country. And we had it. We saw it. We saw President Trump deliver to us the single most substantial political comeback in the history of planet Earth.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. But Now that we've celebrated, we must go to work. We cannot go back to sleep and think
Yes.
Yeah.
it's
Right.
up to us to hold the republic. He's not the answer. He's just buying us time. It's up to us.
Right.
We can't do it alone. This is a nameless, faceless movement. We all have to do our part, which is why we did the brigades. The brigades are free. It costs you 4 hours a month of your time, and that's how you take the country back. It's a divide and conquer strategy that works.
Well,
You
and
know
that's
what?
why I'm so proud to be with you guys, Evan and Charity,
Yes.
Andrea. You guys, I mean, it's the recipe of the founding fathers. This is what
Amen.
this is the way they intended the republic to maintain itself and to stay alive, was the involvement and the kinds of things that you're doing with the Freedom Brigades. So cheers to you for that.
Well, I have to let you know that it's not just a movement. It's the original call to what God has called us to do. It's the
That's right.
body of Christ. It's the true ecclesia. It's the governing body of Jesus Christ. And now we are seeing it in motion. Like you say, Donald Trump, he's just a figure piece that God is using to bring us back to a reformation. I don't even want to say a revival, but it's a reformation back to the values and the principles for what America was built on. And it's through us, the body of Christ, the government shall be upon his shoulders. We have to stand up in the authority of Jesus Christ,
Amen.
like we're doing. The country has shifted, but it doesn't stop there. Now we must continue to fight. We must continue to build the principles that America was founded on in the righteousness and holiness in God. And that's
Amen.
what's going to change and going to continue to change and bring forth back the culture of the education and everything that we need for our children.
You know, I'm reminded of, prior to this election and for the last 4 years, there were a lot of people on our side, and I don't blame them because we've been beat up so bad by the radical left. I call them the Communist Socialist Party, formerly known as Democrats. The Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy doesn't exist. I mean, for goodness sakes, the Democrat Party of Bill Clinton doesn't exist anymore. So, but we've been beaten up, and people were inclined to say things like, well, if Trump doesn't win, America is finished. Well, that's not true. First of all, America is not on her deathbed, and we never were. America is in a nightmare, and it's a doozy, but everybody wakes up from nightmares. Everybody wakes up, and that's what we're seeing. That's what we're witnessing right now. Now, there's a lot more people that we need to wake up. And specifically with the rhino issue, it begs the question, how do you tell who's a rhino? Well, one simple way is this, to ask a candidate or someone who's already in office, do you think that there's election fraud in this country? What about 2020? Do you think that election was plagued by election fraud? And if that candidate or if that person already in office hems or haws or says no, that's a rhino. And they've got to be voted out because we've got to stop denying that problem.
That's been the issue the whole time. We've got these people lying about us and lying about who they are that are getting in office. And we stayed asleep. The average American wants to just be left alone, wants to live their life. They want to go to work. They want to take care of their family. And the fact is we just can't right now. We can't trust our legislators and our politicians to do it. That's why we have to get involved. We must stay engaged. It was always a constitutional republic if we could keep it.
Right. Yeah. And the American people, as it turns out, are much smarter than what the radical left liberal commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, believes they are. And they see the purposeful chaos that's been cascaded down upon us. I mean, you think about it. When Biden, I call him Administrator Biden, Vice Pretender Harris, when they took office and began to open the borders and cascade down upon us every bit of the chaos and crisis that happened as a result of that, the American people became wise to it. And look at what they've done. Every policy they put forth. I don't even think, I'm convinced, in fact, that the radical left party, this election cycle with Kamala in there, I mean, a DEI hire who nobody likes, not even anybody on their side. All of the enthusiasm that we saw for her was manufactured and demanded from the liberal hierarchy because they couldn't get rid of her. She's a DEI hire. And they put themselves in that corner, and I'm convinced that the presidency was not their number one goal. Now, they would have taken it had they won it, but it wasn't their goal. The radical left agenda, item number one, is to move the political and social needle in this country as far to the left as possible. I mean, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. Just look at what we're talking about as topics of this election season. A fiction called gender misappropriation, and the fact that parents and teachers who believe in that fiction would dare to advocate that little kids would have to, in order for them to find happiness in life, would have to mutilate their genitalia. Now that's gruesome language, but it's the truth. And that's what we're talking about. And we need to say it out loud. That's what the radical left movement in America represents. And the American people 1 week ago today said no.
I know, it's a beautiful thing. Well, you know, when the Republican Party has to write down on paper in their platform that we need to end the weaponization of the government against the American citizens, that's a scary place to be. That we would ever get there, that has to be something that's even on paper. It's just unreal to me. Doug, how do people sign up for your conference?
Thank you, Charity. Yeah, so the website is determinedpatriotismconference.com, determinedpatriotismconference.com, and they can get tickets and information there. There are a couple, it's a 2-day event, Friday and Saturday, the 13th and 14th of December. We have a great, I think, lineup of speakers. Tom Renz, one of America's premier lawyers and attorneys who fights against lawfare and so forth that's been waged. A lot of work with COVID and so forth throughout the years. He's going to be there. Christy Hutcherson from Women Fighting for America. You see the list there. My good friend, Father Jim Altman. Joe Flynn, brother of General Michael Flynn, will be there. Bill Eigel, who ran a really good MAGA, America First candidate for governor in Missouri, who lost, but is still on the horizon for future. Tom Homan.
I love Bill.
Yeah, Bill's a great
guy.
Tom Homan, who obviously was just tagged by President Trump again to come back as the borders are. He's just a bucket of fire. Tom Homan is awesome. I'm praying that his new assignment won't take him away and out of the mix here, but as of today, he's still in. Mark and his wife, Patricia McCloskey, young podcaster, Alex Stone. You can see the list there. And more, there'll be a couple of more added in here as we get closer to the event. We'll have a couple of surprises, I think, along the way. We'll also, it's in Branson, Missouri. For those of you who have never been to Branson, especially during Christmas time, it's like stepping into a Norman Rockwell painting.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's incredible. It's just so, it's conservative. It's beautiful. It's Christmas. You know, it's Trump's back. You know,
it's your birthday, Doug. It's Doug's
my birthday. Christmas is my birthday.
Christmas is Doug's birthday. Oh, really? Tom Renz is obsessed with Santa Claus, and we all have like 12 Christmas trees already up in our house.
We'll have to have Tom dress up as Santa.
He wants to dress up as Santa. And then my birthday is actually the 14th, so I'm hoping I'll be there.
Well, there you go.
So we're all excited. And we were saying...
I have a younger sister who was born 3 years later on Christmas Eve. We always teased my Irish parents about having a lot of fun on St. Patrick's Day.
I guess so. So was there like rules laid out? There will be no, here's your birthday and Christmas gift.
Oh yeah.
Together,
Yeah. I used to when I was a little kid, and this was all meant in good humor. I said, now you're not going to give me just one, because after all, I am Jesus. I can tell. And I would joke, that was just with my mom and dad. I wouldn't go out, but that was our little family, you know, and it wasn't just a joke. It was serious. My sister and I, since she was born on Christmas Eve, we go, look, none of this, you know, here's your birthday and Christmas present nonsense, which is what some of our cousins and aunts and uncles did. And we just go, okay, thanks, Uncle John. Thanks a lot. But at any rate.
Well, when we were talking about your event previously with Tom and the team, we were so excited because we're like, we're going to be celebrating. And we are. We got our wish. We're going to be celebrating.
We did. And I just knew 4 years ago when you see this nightmare building, I mean, I couldn't imagine the American people looking at this and saying, yeah, this is exactly what I want. Exactly. I can't put bread on the table, and the nation is in chaos. The borders are open. Wars are raging.
We the people spoke clearly. And there's 20 million Democrats that just disappeared. And I have to think that there's been a lot of great things and progress made with our election integrity fight, because there were cleaning up of voter rolls across multiple states. Yep. And I mean, we've been fighting really hard here in Nevada. There's still things we're seeing. There's still things we're shining light on. But that's how we win. We don't stop. Like when Trump won, we all said, great, now we know where we're going, but the fight is just beginning. It's just different. We're going to have his back, and we're going to rally around our president. But we still have to fight for these issues that our country's been, suffering from. Like the election integrity issue, we need to make sure that we make it even better next time around. We close down that border, and we keep fighting to have that transparency. But I'm excited for the win because America spoke. Like you said, there's We're red. This country's red.
Proverbs says that whenever, I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but when there's a righteous ruler, the wicked or the people rejoice.
Rejoice, correct.
And man, did you see immediately the stock market, right? Like immediately responded. He had world leaders coming in. I have a friend who married a lady from Russia, and he was a missionary over there. And he said, Charity, I had this guy called me, and he said he's a pastor of a mega church in Russia. And he said, hey, next time you come, I want you to bring me a Make America Great Again hat. I mean, they're excited all over the world. It's great because it's not just us. As we say, when I go talk to people in different places, we're not just fighting for our republic. America is the police for the world. America is the one that goes in and stops in the other, where the buck stops with us. Yeah. So we're not just saving America when we fight for our republic. It's the whole world.
100%, 100%. And, we have an opportunity here because, and just by way of an example, the people who came to our side as, former supporters of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or of Elon Musk, of Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson, for that matter. And that's, right there, those people, in my estimations, I've talked about this on my show, that's 25 million votes right there of real people who would have voted for any one of those or who followed them. I know Elon and Tucker weren't candidates, but who followed them, who admired them and came over to our side. So Trump gets that many new votes from those endorsements. And meanwhile, you juxtapose that against the celebrity endorsements that Kamala parades, and it brought her a net gain of 0. I'm not kidding you. Look, anybody who was undecided didn't look and say, oh, well, Taylor Swift is voting for her, so I guess I will too. And not anybody with any credible intellectual maturity, that is. And so they just very few to net 0 gains for any of them. And it, as it turns out, the American people laugh every time there's a celebrity on stage. They just roll their eyes and they think, you know what? I can't put food on my table, and you're bringing out these celebrities. And then she pays them millions of dollars, and her campaign goes into the red.
Yeah. How much money did she spend compared to Trump? I was looking at those numbers.
Wasn't he going to bail her out? I heard a rumor. I don't know. I just heard a rumor.
I think he's just trolling her when he says
oh, goodness.
But she raised over 20 billion, 2 billion.
Yeah.
And she's 20 million in the hole. So
it's disgusting. And
she spends money like I do. I could probably do that. I'm just saying.
That's just a day at Costco for you.
I could probably.
The Democrat Party has lost, rightly so. I mean, she's a communist. She is. Yeah. And then right before election, going into debates, she starts kind of trying to go off more into the center and be like, oh, I like guns. And then they're worried about the white male vote. And they bring in Tampon Tim because, the American men really relate to Tampon Tim. Yeah. I mean, the type of pandering that they did. I mean, and like you said, I have a hard time putting food on the table for my 2 giant teenage boys that are eating me out of house and home, literally. I have a hard time paying for gas. There's so much crime in our streets in all of our cities right now because the border is just wide open, and it doesn't matter where, what you believe in or what side of the political line, even if it's juxtaposed, all Americans really want the same thing. We want to be able to provide, for our kids. We want safety. We want good education. We want the economy to be strong so that we can make money. And at the end of the day, it's clear that the Democrats want communism. They've gone too far. They've gone too far. Yeah. I mean, she was out there saying, I love woke. If it's woke, I love it. Okay, did woke work out for anyone who was pushing the woke agenda? And she was out there going, if it's woke, we love it. And every American just turns it off when she says that stuff. I mean, they're so out of touch. It's disgusting.
Yeah, woke us back up to righteousness. That's what it was.
Amen.
If it woke anything, it woke this country back up to get back in alignment. So thank you, Democrats, for doing that. For helping
thank you, Tampon
Tim. Tim Walz, who's the poster man for the wussification of the American male.
Yes.
Was to be the one. I mean, and what a terrible strategic choice for Minnesota even. I mean, when you look at it strategically, you guys, Minnesota, a state that a Republican hasn't won for multiple election cycles, and they picked Tim Walz. That has no electoral college strategy whatsoever. Why didn't they choose Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, a state they desperately needed to win? And they probably could have had they chosen Josh Shapiro, but AOC and the squad You can't have a Jew. No. You can't do that. And so they squander a strategic alliance with Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania for an anti-Semitic mantra within their own party.
Yeah.
And so Trump ends up, as I said, I mean, I knew he was going to win the blue wall. I mean, you have so many people. So at any rate, yeah, Tim Walz, terrible strategic choice all the way around. And then look at J.D. Vance, completely opposite. Brought us the Rust Belt. And what a guy. I mean, if he continues on this trajectory, he's going to be the standard bearer for us in 2028 and 2032.
Yeah, I love him. And I mean, they are the party of racism. I'm sorry. The DEI agenda, I mean, they always are constantly trying to bring up, like you said, religion and gender and sex as reasons to back someone. And I've said a million times, I'm not voting on someone because of the color of their skin or their gender. And if I got a job just because of my gender, I'd be offended. And if Eben got a job just because of his color, he'd be offended. That is racism. And so to come out and say that we're the, you know, I was just watching something recently where I think someone just posted on Twitter, like the 4-minute video of Trump constantly saying that he doesn't support racism and he doesn't support the KKK. It's like they keep trying to push this agenda that we are the racists, but they're the DEI hires. They're the racists, and it's clear as day to everyone now.
But that's how the enemy always works. Okay, that the enemy always accuses you of what they're doing. 100%.
Exactly.
I mean,
right,
in every aspect of everything.
Gaslighting.
All the time. Do you think it's possible, though? You were talking, Doug, about like Kamala and I mean, even Biden. Do you think that they just, because they tried to cheat, do you think that they're purposely putting out the stupidest people to be in our face? I mean, look at AOC. What I mean, you think they're purposely saying, hey, we're cheating, we know that you know, and we don't care? Like, seriously, like nobody bought that Biden won. Nobody would have bought that Kamala even got that many votes. Do you think
and Biden won by 20 million more that just disappeared? I mean, how is Biden the most popular like president of all time?
No, that's what I'm saying. They're making fun of us. So I really think what do you think? Am I way off?
No, I no, you're not way off at all. What the thing is, their talent, their bench of talent is not very deep. And they just, I mean, they've got just radical kooks everywhere you turn. And they put these people up because they were embracing. Now, back in the day, believe it or not, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were not kooks. I mean, they were mainstream people who had liberal ideas, but they were held hostage by this radical left element and faction within their party, and they all went completely woke. And it just was, and then you get the likes of AOC, and you get, well, Bernie Sanders has been around for years, but you get people like him and the squad, every one of them, Ilhan Omar, Presley, all of them. They're just, that's all they've got. And they've gone so far to the left, they've disenfranchised the mainstream, intellectually mature people within this country. And they're just the whack jobs. There's not enough whack jobs in the country to vote for and catapult anybody to a victory who's going to be a whack job. You just don't have that many people. As it turns out, the LGBTQ kook community occupies 0.02% of this country. Mm-hmm. And you just can't continually cater to them and expect to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's accurate.
And we just shared a video too with Fauci. I think it's on Tom's wall, where Anthony Fauci, it's like some leaked audio of him talking about really wanting to instill fear during COVID with all the crazy lockdowns and the masking and all this, because he said that people won't get the jab unless they're scared, and he's sick of their ideological BS, is what he said. So what's crazy is like they'll just straight out say they want you to live in fear. They want you to trust daddy government. They don't want you to have ideological BS. That's our values. That's what our country's built on. You're telling me that my belief in God and me wanting to live in a free country to basically the law of the land, the Constitution, is ideological BS? Me caring about my freedoms? They've gone too far. And after COVID, who trusts any of it? When do you trust a liar? They lied to us about everything. And it wasn't that long ago. Like, they haven't been able to psy-up us enough. Like, I remember the lies, and I'm not going to trust you. And they're pushing for the government to have more and more control. And the American people say no. Well, that's what our founding fathers wanted. They did not want the government to be bigger. Right. They wanted us to have the power. We, the people, to have the power, not the government.
Well, and you've just hit on it. So let's be clear about this. The radical left, Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, is clearly an anti-American political movement.
Yeah,
Clearly,
absolutely.
evidence of the obvious is sufficient. All you have to do is look at what they've done. Let me just use a couple of examples. Going back to Barack Obama, who was the first. Now, all of the radical liberal presidents since FDR have believed this, but Obama was the first one to say it out loud. And that is, in order we remember they thought it was this pleasant little campaign slogan. We need to fundamentally transform America. Obama was the first one to say it. Now, when you think about that, what fundamentally transforming America means to them is away from the divine providence of God, away from the intent of the founding fathers, and a complete dependence upon the federal government. America, again, is inspired by God, and all of those beliefs are codified in our founding documents, written by the founding fathers. America does not need to be fundamentally transformed, but that's what they want. And you're exactly right. They have to strip everything away. The feminist movement in the 1950s and 60s and 70s was precisely about getting rid of men in the family, because you can't have anything. The most significantly important institution in this country, aside from a belief in Jesus, is the family, the traditional American family. And they wanted to destroy it because you can't have allegiances before anything else other than the state. You get rid of God, you get rid of the family. You say men, are not necessary for women to have a life and to have a career. All of these things, and then Build Back Better. All of those other mantras that came into play. Build Back Better. I can tell you, they had meetings about the first word that they leave out of that mantra, which was destroy. Destroy it and then build it back better in our image. It's completely anti-American. There's no question about it. It's not even up for debate. Anybody that denies that is simply either asleep or vastly suffering from chronic intellectual immaturity.
Well, we've said on this show many times that foundation of the family and how that's been broken down, that ripple effect is everything that we face in this society. Goes back to that.
The Determined Patriotism Conference, like you said, is really important for us to get together. And I went to almost all of the Reawaken tours. I went to the first one where I met Doug, actually.
Yep.
So I was just giggling over the way we met. I think you had me take a picture of you, but then I had to get your number to send it to you because I used my camera because you didn't give me. We were just kind of in a jumble, and I was helping people take pictures. And then I got your number. I was like, I got Doug Billings' number. I was all excited. But one thing that we had there was the Mama Bears, and we've been talking. I mean, when my work with Joey Gilbert, with Dr. Gold, with Tom Renz, with all these great leaders in the movement, we constantly talk about the Mama Bears. Well, that was a direct reaction to that feminist movement. We were lied to, and we knew it. And women like Charity and I, we homeschool our kids. We believe in God. And honestly, our country was built on pilgrim mothers like that you want to take away the dad in the house. Well, you're going to have to then go through me. And that's not going to be fun. The Mama Bears rose up in this movement. And I think a lot of it has to do with us getting together. And like your event, being in person together and sharing stories and talking and seeing each other face to face. The Mama Bears I met there gave me so much courage to keep standing in this and fighting this. But the Mama Bears of our movement are like the direct reaction to that feminist BS because we're suffering from it. And that's why every woman is talking about where are all the toxic men. I want toxic men. We need more toxic masculinity in this world.
We
miss the men. Please. Where have all the men gone? I want a cowboy. Where are all the cowboys? So, I mean, the good thing is it's kind of swinging back in their face. And I don't think they expected these Mama Bears to rise up like they did, honestly.
Yeah. I agree. I know you said you couldn't stay real long, Doug. I appreciate you coming on the show.
I'm good. Guys, I appreciate it.
Check it out. I do want to give a shout out to Tom Renz Media Network and to America Happens, where you can find us. We're also on Rumble and Eben, I appreciate you coming on. But guys, we have some ladies coming on that are going to talk about the Mama Bears that you just brought up.
Yay.
We've got Mama Bears fighting back.
For you.
Make sure you thank them for me, because that demographic was the bullseye for the radical liberal election campaign this year. White suburban women by 67% voted for Donald Trump.
Wow.
And that's important. That's important. I mean, that is huge. It says that, because they're all about the radical left thought that abortion would be the issue. Well, as it turns out, abortion is an issue. However, so is pornography in the schools. And so is having a boy walk into the girls' restroom. Or boys in women's sports. I mean, all of those. And so 67% of white suburban women voted for Trump. So make sure you thank those Mama Bears for me, because that's incredible. And it's just
Amen.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks for letting me talk about the conference, determinedpatriotismconference.com. I appreciate it, you guys.
I hope everyone comes. I want to hang out and
we'll
see
you all there.
Yes.
We're all going to be there.
We're all going to be there.
I look forward to it.
Fun.
God bless you guys. Thanks for what we're
God
doing.
bless you, Doug.
Thank you.
Guys. Thank
So
you.
long.
All right, so we have Dana Mooney, who she runs brigades in part of Oklahoma, but she also works closely with Moms for Liberty because we partner well with a lot of the freedom organizations. Dana's a rock star. And then we have Rebecca Bible out of Kansas, and she's amazing. They are just starting their brigades in Kansas. Rebecca, I asked her to come on the show because she was a public school teacher. And after being in the public schools, she pulled her children out and said, hell no, we're homeschooling. And I do want to say, I'm not anti-public schools. I'm anti-government teaching the kids. Like, the government is never going to teach you how to overthrow them. The government is never going to be honest about everything. There are good teachers and good administrators that mean well. But there is a monster behind this that we're fighting, and that's the unions. Ryan Walters, who is a rock star. I know, Andrea, I don't ever stop talking about him. I say his name almost every show. I am so proud that he's from Oklahoma. Trump has just asked him to help write the blueprint for getting rid of the Federal Department of Education. Can I get a hallelujah? We need to be done with that. I'm excited about that. And so when I got that email from Ryan, which I know he put out to all of his followers, so it's something I'm allowed to talk about how they were going to abolish the federal education. We so desperately need that. We need public schools, but they need to be locally run. We need to quit having the federal government giving us money. I mean, one of the things that infuriated me most with the Biden administration was they tried to take this kids' lunch money hostage and not allow them to have their lunch money if the schools didn't implement this perverse agenda. Like, it was sex education, perverted stuff.
Unbelievable.
Like, this is the kind of stuff, this is why we need to stop the states can handle their schools. The local can handle their schools. The federal should not be in the middle of that. Stay out of it. Anyway, welcome, Dana. Welcome, Rebecca. I'm glad you guys joined us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Dana, you and I have been talking, so you're in good company. Andrea, Dana is also a domestic terrorist.
Oh, great.
She's on the list. Biden, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
We'll be in the same FEMA camp together. No, not anymore. Trump's in office, but if it happens. If the FEMA camp happens, we'll be together.
We're still technically
I know.
on the top of the list, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dana. Tell us what you were telling me about this morning with that.
So the Southern Poverty Law Center had basically deemed Moms for Liberty and other groups that were fighting parental rights, just general kind of common sense movement as far as what was happening in our schools, what was happening in general. And they placed us on basically a hate map, along with groups like the KKK would be on, which in turn set off a firestorm of hate, death threats from people around the country, wishing all kinds of harm on us and our children, to basically because we were fighting for our children.
So hold on, harm on you and your children because you're fighting for your children. Mm-hmm. This is the American government. Mm-hmm. Wow. This is why we need Trump in office.
Deception.
This is why we've got to bring the heaven back down to earth. That's up to us to do that.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness. Now, Rebecca, I wanted to talk to you for a little bit because while you were a public school teacher, you refused to join the union.
Right.
Can you tell us about some of the pressure you got from the teachers union? What did they say to you? How did they first approach you?
So when you first sign up, first I resigned 7 years ago, and all of this crap that is going on now, I mean, the public schools were getting bad, but all of this transgender and